All right, welcome back. We've made it to the end of our journey. Over the last 9 parts, we've dug into the physics, the settings, and all the strategies for getting better Wi-Fi in crowded apartments. But today, we're tackling the final and honestly the most important chapter. This is the one that takes all that theory and turns it into actual, real-world results, because it's all about the method. As you can see, this is part 10 of the fantastic 10-part tutorial from RFI Detectives. We've already learned all about channels and power levels and where to put your gear. Now we're zooming in on chapter 10, which is really the capstone that pulls it all together. It's the one thing that makes all the other knowledge work, the right methodology. You know, it's one thing to know what all the buttons and settings do inside your router's admin page, but true mastery, that comes from knowing how to apply those settings in a really controlled, effective way. This is the secret sauce that separates endless frustration from true optimization. So let me just ask you this. You know you should probably pick channel 1, 6, or 11 on the 2.4 gigahertz band. You know you should probably turn your transmit power down. But do you have a reliable process for making those changes? Because without the right method, even the right settings can lead you down the wrong path. And that brings us to the single biggest mistake that almost everybody makes. You get frustrated, your Netflix is buffering, so you log into your router and you just change everything at once. You change the channel width, the power level. The problem is you've just created a tangled mess. If things get better, you have no idea why, and if they get worse, you've got no clue what to change back. So, the solution is to stop guessing and to start treating this like a little science experiment. The golden rule of Wi-Fi tuning is all about applying a simple, disciplined, scientific method to your network. And it really comes down to these 3 simple steps. First, you record. This is absolutely non-negotiable. Save your router's configuration file, or hey, even just take some screenshots. You need a baseline you can go back to. Second, you change. And the key here is you only change one single thing at a time. Not 2, not 3, just 1. And third, you test. You use your tools, you measure the impact of that one change before you even think about doing anything else. You know, this whole process actually has a name. It's called iterative analysis. You make one change, you scan the airwaves, you verify the result, and only then do you decide if you're going to keep it or move on to the next change. I know it might feel slow, but in a chaotic Wi-Fi environment, it's the only way to guarantee you're actually improving things. So theory is great, but let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. We're going to walk through 2 of the most common adjustments you're probably going to make using this exact method. Okay, first up, the classic 2.4 gigahertz channel selection. Let's say your analyzer app shows that your router's auto setting has plopped you right onto a super crowded channel and you want to move to a clearer one. So let's apply the method. Step 1, record. We document that the current setting is channel auto. Simple. Step 2, change. We make one single adjustment. We're disabling auto and manually picking what we think is a better option, say channel 6. And then step 3, test. We fire up our analyzer app one more time to verify the change actually took and to see what impact it had. That's it. One complete, controlled cycle. And this just perfectly illustrates that quote from the source guide itself. The best analysis is iterative. You don't just set it and forget it. You get into this rhythm, change, rescan, verify. That is the heartbeat of good network management. All right, let's move on to our next example and see how this method builds on itself. This time, we're adjusting transmit power. The goal here is to shrink our Wi-Fi signal so it covers our apartment perfectly, but doesn't go blasting into our neighbors' homes. And again, it's the same exact process. We record that the power is set to high. Our single change is to drop it all the way to low. Now for the test, we physically walk to the farthest corner of our apartment, checking our phone, aiming for a signal somewhere between -65 and -70 dBm. If it's too weak, we don't just guess and turn it back to high. Nope. We go back, nudge the power up just one level, and we repeat the walk test. We iterate until that coverage is absolutely perfect. Okay, now that we know the right method, let's talk about the traps. These are those tempting silver bullet solutions that promise to fix everything, but what they really do is violate our methodical approach and usually just make things a whole lot worse. And the biggest trap for apartment dwellers has got to be consumer mesh systems. A single, well-placed access point gives you total control to make these iterative changes. A mesh system, it takes all that control away from you. It uses these black box algorithms that were designed for big suburban houses, not dense apartments. And worse, it's wireless backhaul. That's the communication between the mesh units themselves. It just eats up precious airtime, adding to the very interference you're trying to solve. And oh, there's more. Signal extenders are somehow even worse than mesh. They're essentially just shouting to repeat the signal, which doubles the congestion. The gateways your ISP gives you, they rarely give you the detailed control you need, and just leaving everything on auto leads to what the guide calls herd behavior, a chaotic mess where all the routers in your building are constantly freaking out and changing settings in reaction to each other. So, after all of this, what does it really mean to master your network? It's really about shifting your mindset. You're not just a passive consumer anymore. You're a proactive, methodical administrator of your own digital space. So here's your final checklist, your path to mastery. Always follow the golden rule. Record, change one, test. Make small, iterative changes and check your work every single time. Avoid those black box solutions like mesh that take control away from you. Always remember that the airwaves are shared, and know that in an apartment, a single precisely configured access point is almost always your most powerful tool for amazing Wi-Fi. And I'll just leave you with this final thought. Optimizing your Wi-Fi, it's not just about getting better streaming for yourself. In a shared space like an apartment building, it's really an act of community. By carefully tuning your network so that it stays within your own walls, you're not just improving your own connection, you're improving it for everyone around you. So the question is, are you a good Wi-Fi neighbor?